7:30 p.m. I call this meeting of the Needham Design Review Board to order. I'm the board chair, Mark Glusing. I would like to confirm that all members and applicants are present and can hear each other. So members, when I call your name, please respond. Bob Dermody.
Here.
Chad Riley.
Here.
Steve Tanner. Okay.
He's muted.
That's okay. I got him. So he can hear us, I guess. Now just want to make sure the applicants are available. 50 Dedham Avenue, Rick Byrne Photography. See here? No. Okay. We'll see if he shows up in a bit. 1201 Highland Ave, Serenity Spa.
Hi, how we doing?
Okay. 1036 Great Plain Ave, Glamorous Nail Bar.
Here.
Okay, there you go.
Are
Thank
we
you.
missing Rick Byrne? Is that who?
Yes.
Okay, he's here. I promoted him to panelist so he can
Okay.
talk.
Okay. And Babson College batting cage, 0 Olin Way. I see several Babson people here, I believe.
Hi
Okay.
guys, Rick Byrne, sorry to, just figured it out. Thanks.
That's okay. Welcome. Good evening. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the ongoing state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app, as was posted on the town's website, Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. DRB meetings typically do not allow public comment. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of the board are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other people may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. I would like to review the remote meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will take input and comments and questions from the Design Review Board members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department requires electronic submissions of building permit applications. A copy of your application, stamped and noted for the type of approval that it receives, will be emailed to the applicant by the DRB support staff. That can then be attached to your building permit application. So we'll now start with the first item on the agenda, which is 50 Dedham Ave, Rick Byrne Photography. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're doing?
Hi there. So I'm simply replacing the awning that existed from the previous tenant. The previous tenant was a photographer as well. I don't know if you saw Udi Edney, but he put up a nice, beautiful awning with his name on it. And I'm literally keeping the same company. I'm using the same awning. I'm using, well, the same color awning made by the same company. And I'm simply getting rid of his name and putting my name on there. I think you can see the picture. It'll just say Rick Byrne Photography instead of Udi Edney Photography. It's a little confusing when people come and they see his name. So that's all it is. Oh, I can't hear you.
We have the information in the package, thanks. So I would open it up to questions. Steve?
First, when I first looked at this, I thought this was one giant awning that spread across a bunch of architectural elements of the building. But looking at it closer, I see that this awning just really covers his storefront. There's a seam a very noticeable seam right at the end of his door. So in this particular case, I have no issue with his awning. The other awning, I don't like that it covers the architectural elements, but we're not reviewing that tonight.
You're
Okay.
right, Steve, you're right. It's actually three pieces. There's one piece and then another, and then there's a connecting piece in between. So I'm only talking about my piece, but it'll look almost exactly the same, just different writing.
Okay, Chad?
I guess I would suggest that for the awning, if he's replacing it in kind, then it really isn't a facade change. It really is, I could see that as really part of maintenance and upkeep. So I don't know that would necessarily need our approval, but I think, for I read in the packet that he's right justifying with the door. I think that's fine. I could also see it centered over those two windows. It's kind of close either way. We don't have a whole lot of information about the graphic that's on the door. If it's less than 2 square feet, it doesn't count as a sign, but we don't really know what some of that smaller text is, or if it is smaller than the 2 square feet. One thing I do notice about it is on the awning, everything's lowercase, and on the door, photography is all uppercase. So I don't know if that was done on purpose, but just for consistency, I happen to notice that. Wouldn't really affect my vote one way or another, but just an observation. So I think generally I'm fine with it.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I concur with my colleagues' comments so far. Are you recovering just your portion of the frame?
Yes, I spoke to the other tenant and he was not interested.
Okay. Are any of us concerned about matching colors? I guess you're specifying to match, but you're getting new material, and this material's been out in the sun for however many years.
It's Sunbrella. I did have that concern and I asked and he said, maybe initially it'll be, but it should fade to the same color pretty quickly.
Okay. And then is your address 50 Dedham Ave? I see the big 48, but I don't see a 50 anywhere.
It's a great question. It's 50.
Okay.
It is 50. The 48 was from Udi, previous photographer whose business was called 48 Photography. And where he lived in Dover was also number 48. So he had a thing about 48. I will be changing that to 50 as soon as, so I'm going to have the exact same sign. He actually was nice enough to give me the same wood, and it'll be the same exact thing with a 50.
Okay.
Coming up
Well,
as soon as they
I'm
can.
sure the fire department will be happy too.
I'm sure the mailman would be happy.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. Thank you, Mark.
I think we lost.
Mark, I think you're on mute.
It's not my day. So I think the item on the doors, I would follow up Chad's comment and just say that you're limited to 25% of that area. So I don't think that you're exceeding that. And so I think it's fine. As far as the awning colors, these aren't that old, so I don't know that there's been excessive fading on that first one.
Okay.
See, these are only 3 or 4 years old, I believe, the last time he was in.
Yeah.
Good.
So, all right. So I would take a motion to approve 50 Dedham Ave, and it's just a sign application as submitted.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, and we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Aye.
Chad Riley.
Aye.
Steve Tanner,
Aye.
and the chair approves. Right. Thanks, Rick.
No, thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Rick. Good luck.
We need them.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Okay, the next item is 1201 Highland Ave, Serenity Nail Spa. Daniel, do you want to just give us a quick overview of what you're doing? We do have your information in the package.
Absolutely. How we doing, everyone? My my application here is for an 18-inch blade sign that will run perpendicular to Highland Avenue. It'll be attached to the brick facade of the building, 9 feet from the ground, giving clearance for pedestrians. Yeah, I do have plans for a bigger sign in the future, but we haven't gotten to that step yet. So I wanted to put in a preliminary application for our smaller sign first. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone see, is this, that's non-illuminated, is that correct?
It is non-illuminated, correct?
All right, again, start with Steve. Do you have any questions?
I noticed there is no section through the sign. And that way it's hard to determine like how heavy it is.
Mhm.
And they're specifying using like Tapcons just in the mortar or in the brick, and I would think more expansion sleeves would be better. But I couldn't say anything unless I knew how much the sign weighed or how it's actually being built.
Okay, so
I have no
the,
objection with the design.
okay. The frame, the circular frame is aluminum, and the steel plate, it's a very small steel plate. I don't know the overall sign weight, and that is an oversight on my behalf, but I know that it's very light, and I do have one here in store. They're rated for exterior, but while we were ordering it, we wanted to use one indoors as well as a branding element indoors. And you could basically lift it up effortlessly while it is.
It's just that if you have a
Mhm.
steel plate, that means that rod coming off that is steel. Two are
Mhm.
probably welded together. But then
Yeah.
if the inside of the sign is aluminum, you can't weld steel to aluminum. So therein, how's it attached? And that's why I'd like to see a section.
Okay.
So how thick is the sign itself with that metal band? Is the band an inch wide and the panel is just a panel, or is it?
And the
you know,
panel gets attached separately to the frame. And the aluminum is 2.5 inches wide.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Bob?
I would also like to see an elevation where it's going to go on the building relative to the brick color coursing that alternates, the orange and the gray. And then also are you keeping the existing awning that's there currently?
Yes.
And where might the bottom of the sign be in relation to that awning, that kind of thing? So if we could have an elevation that shows that. We have a drawing that it's on page 12 of our packet, and it's got what appears to be a very thick square protrusion coming out of the building with a yellow circle around it. What does that indicate?
That might have just been a rough mock-up.
There's no
Look at
Page
sign.
13 is better, Bob. Page 13 is better.
Look at the next page, Bob.
Yeah. Oh, that's way out of scale, though. Apparently, it looks tiny compared to the awning now. 18 inches. Well, maybe it is that size. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
up to that.
All right. I guess, yeah, just the questions about how it would be attached materially as Steve asked. Otherwise, that helps. But well, actually, I do have a question. What is the previous
Sure.
drawing telling us? If it's in the package, I just want to know.
I'm just gonna double check what that image is real quick.
Because it looks, yeah, maybe it is I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's why I'm asking.
Somebody photoshopping something, I think, is all.
Yeah.
Is it a storefront? Just a storefront sign? Oh,
It has the old banner. from the-
Yeah, that's the
I
one.
think that photo is probably quite old, actually.
I don't think that was supposed to be in the email I sent Eliza. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
We'll ignore that page, all right?
Yeah.
Please.
Question withdrawn.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Chad, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't recall what the maximum size is for a blade sign, but 18 inches just seems awfully small. And I think particularly where it's kind of behind the awning, if you're coming from the center of town, it's not going to be all that easy to see. I think the other thing is if it is if it's going to be small, then my concern would be that there might be a temptation to put up a temporary banner like the one on that image we were just talking about, and that would not be allowed. So we would want to make sure that any signage that's added, it goes through the approval process.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, Mark or Steve, if you remember what the maximum size is for a blade sign.
If he's going to add a wall sign later, then the maximum size on the blade sign is 3 square feet. And this one is 2.25. If it's
could be a
the
little
only
bigger.
sign you have, it can be 6 square feet.
Yeah. So if you're planning to add a second one and you want to make it a little bit bigger, you could still do that within the bylaws. And so,
Okay.
I mean, my sense is if it's the only sign for some period of time, then you might want to think about that just as a better identifier of the business location.
Sure.
And then who's actually going to manufacture the sign? Are you doing it yourself, or do you have a sign company that's doing it?
It's not an official sign company. It's on a e-commerce company through Etsy.
Well, the building department is going to need some much more specific drawings than you provided us before they'll give you a permit to actually install it. We give you the design approval, but the building department is going to require more specific details about the construction of that sign before you can get a permit.
So you might contact them and just even show them this and ask what additional information they'd be looking for, so you can pull that together.
Sure. I've been in contact with Mr. Roche.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, to follow up on Steve's questions, the description of the 2-inch width on the band, that means this panel is just kind of recessed in there with the acrylic design on it. Recognizing the dissimilar metals of aluminum and steel are a problem, I would just suggest that we require it all to be aluminum. Steve, would that be reasonable?
That would probably be appropriate.
Okay, that wouldn't be an issue.
And Chad has a point. If it's going to be 8 months before you do your wall sign, then you could, it might be helpful to go up a hair on the size of this. So we could condition it that we'd allow you to go up to 3 square feet if you want, or if you're sure that this size is going to work for you, then we won't bother.
Yeah, it wouldn't be 8 months. I think we just had plans of opening up pretty soon, and we needed something manufactured fairly quickly. And the purpose of this one would basically be more for like the foot traffic, guests that might be walking by, going to Dunkin' Donuts or whatnot. And definitely for, a better visual, we want to have a bigger sign, possibly even illuminated, and that would go through the board and all the right processes for that.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions?
Are they gonna put graphics on the windows? Like the other sign had?
Oh, not like, are you referring to that banner or anything like that?
Oh,
Yeah,
sort of,
Get in shape for women.
No, I don't know. Luckily that wasn't there when we came into the space, but if it was there, it would have been taken down immediately.
he's asking about graphics on the windows sometimes.
Window decals, yeah. And I did read through the package where it had to be 25% less than the overall square footage of the window.
Of the panel, yeah. We also need to review it if it's more than 2 square feet. So you might
Okay,
put that information together with your other sign before you install all that stuff. If you want to install it sooner, you can bring it up again and get back on our agenda. We'll take a look at it with you.
okay,
Okay.
copy that.
All right. So
I will say a lot of times when businesses start up, especially where you've got a small sign, there might be a temptation to put a lot of temporary graphics and signs and things in the window, and that's typically not allowed. So if that were happening and you were coming back in for an application, we would be conditioning that on removing a lot of things that had not gone through the right design review.
Okay.
we're just,
Okay,
we
good to
recommend figuring out what you want to do and let us take a look at it quickly and get you back on your work.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I would take a motion to approve the sign with the condition that it be an all aluminum construction.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Aye.
Chad Riley.
Aye.
Steve Tanner,
Aye.
and the chair approves. So thanks, Daniel, and welcome to Needham.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good.
And next item on the agenda, 1036 Great Plain Ave, applying to signage on an awning and a new business name. All right, so do you want to, is this Oscar? Are you here?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Go ahead and tell us tell us a little bit about this, please.
So what we're proposing is to recover the awning and extending it, was it 42 inches to completely cover the storefront. The layout of this building is a little weird. If you see the awning next to it, Cleveland Trouble, it's almost the same, where that there's like a brick divider, but it's the whole storefront.
Just trying to zoom in here. And the color is going to be the same as it currently is?
No, well, the background will be black. We went with a little bit more legible font, and the color is going to be gray, silver.
Okay, so the current awning stops at the brick pillar.
Correct.
And are you gonna, so you're making an entirely new frame that extends it all the way to
Correct.
the. Okay. I think the board will recall, and I did send out, I had Elisa dig up the neighboring approvals and reviews, mostly because I wanted to see what the lettering size was, but then I realized that Cleveland Circle Travel did the same thing of a few years ago, and we had some issues with how that was accomplished. I don't remember who was there, but the initial approval, it was not approved to extend it over that brick pier. But they came back and said that they would remake the awning for the Acorn Bakery if they were allowed to extend it over, so that they lined up and could be the same size and shape. So that's why that happened. Even though that I couldn't, I don't know if Lisa was able to find that review or if it was actually part of the past entrance, but you did see that the approval that they got did not allow that, and in fact told them not to do that, go over this brick pier. So eventually they got there. I don't know the details. Either that or they ignored our ruling and just built it anyway, and the building inspector didn't catch it. So this is the same thing. The odd feature of these interior spaces is that each of them take a little bit of the next bay in this case, to the right of the brick pier. And whether we think it's important that an awning go over the entire storefront or not is really the argument we had last time, and probably the argument we're going to have this time. These letters at 16 inches are similar to the current Serenity. I think they're awnings lettering, and the nail bar is a little bit bigger than the lower section of the other signs on the building. So I'll open it up from there. I guess the two issues are really, I think I'd like to just discuss the sign portion first, and then we can discuss the awning change. So on the sign, size, lettering, color, we'll start with you, Bob.
I think it looks okay. It's pretty clear. You know, similar to the Cleveland Circle with the black, the white letters and the black fabric. So yeah, I'm okay with the sign portion of it.
Chad?
To me, it looks like maybe it's just a different font from the Cleveland Circle, but it just seems very crowded. There's not a whole lot of space beneath nail bar, and the word glamorous just looks big. And you know, maybe I don't know if it is the same height as Cleveland Circle, but the letters look much more crowded there. So I wouldn't mind seeing reduced about 25% or something like that, just to give a little bit more breathing room on the awning.
If I can jump back in, Mark.
Yep.
The spacing of the letters in the phrase nail bar looks really tight too. I forgot to mention that.
Okay. Steve?
I agree with Chad. I think the text is too big, and I don't think we should look at as criteria to match sign to match Cleveland Circle, because that is pretty awful the way it fills that whole awning. And I'd hate to see it repeating that same thing with this sign. And I also don't like the length of the whole awning. I don't like it going past the brick pier.
Okay, I would concur. I think that the Serenity is a lowercase letters. These are all caps. And at 16 inches, I realize these are at an angle, so sometimes that can affect that, how we look at that. But I think we'd rather shrink these down maybe to 14 inches or 13. And then, and it is a blade sign, so it doesn't have a valance on it. So the word travel on Cleveland Circle travel, I believe, is on the valance. No, I guess I'm wrong. It's up on the awning. So, and we did make them reduce that to about 8 inches. So I would say if nail bar was reduced to 8 inches and the upper was reduced to 13, I think the proportions would be a little better on the open space around the sign. So you could push it up a little bit from the bottom and not have nail bar quite so close to the bottom. So is that reasonable for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Then regarding the extension of the awning over the brick pier, I wish the last tenant would come in and finish it off for us, but they're not going to. So I would, again, I'll start with you, Chad, on your thoughts on the awning size itself extending over. They do have that one window. That window, it's below it, is into their space, which is, I guess, their rationale for asking for this.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of still where we were when we reviewed awnings in the past on this, that the awning is marking the entrance and that first primary window. And don't see the need for it to mark the entire thing. I think if there had been another awning that came up as far as the door for the business that's right at the corner, and it was filling a gap, then I might feel differently. But in that case, it would be a continuous awning, so you wouldn't see it arbitrarily ending relative to the windows up on the second story. So I think that something along the lines of what was done for the smudge nail bar to me still looks like it fits better on what's a very challenging building.
Okay. Steve?
Well, the way they have this sign now, it's almost like it's like lettering on a background. And when we have a sign like that, we count the background. And if we counted this background, this is like a 72 square foot background. And our bylaw says 30 square feet. I think these awning with this text, like just taking up the whole awning, needs to be brought in line with our guidelines. And I wouldn't be in favor of this awning at all because it's too big. The text is too big on it. Awning could be the size, but the text would need to be quite a bit smaller.
Yeah, we're going to reduce the text. I'm just wanting to get your impression of the.
I don't think it should go past the brick pier.
Okay, that's it. Bob?
I'm torn. I thought of one hypothetical. If we require it to not go past the brick pier and a tenant comes into that final space on the corner and wants to put up an awning, there we might wind up with a gap. Right?
Well, we would end up with a gap because they would probably stop.
Well, they couldn't go past their space.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There are lots of
Okay. All right. Well,
buildings with awnings on that are continuous.
and
that-
I should have opened with I'm not clear on how the Cleveland Circle one got to be because the Serenity one looks decent
Yeah,
and seems to match their store and their door. The Cleveland Circle goes over the brick pier. If Cleveland Circle was not over the brick pier, I'd say no for glamorous. But since the Cleveland Circle's already over the brick pier,
I
I
see.
might be okay with the glamorous being over the brick pier, but still with the smaller font, as we've already agreed.
well, part of the Cleveland Circle issue was that the point you just raised, Servente didn't want to go any further than their door.
Right.
And in spite of us suggesting that they go to the brick pier. And
Yeah.
because, it's really up to the landlord what they do or don't do related to
Yeah.
each other. Steve, yeah.
Yes, but the whole problem was I thought they were going to match Servente. That awning has a different profile than the Cleveland Circle awning. They just made it a straight, flat awning. This one had this little,
Not a valence.
the right word.
Valence.
Yeah, and it didn't even match it. I mean, if Cleveland Circle matched Servente, I wouldn't mind it so much. But they didn't do anything to follow our guidelines. I'm sure we asked for it to match the awning next to it. And so now we're just going to continue with that same design, which is really not great.
Yeah,
It
Servente
looks like based on the approval.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Servente has a small, their proposal had a small valence, whether they built it differently.
Do we know the
Yeah.
order of installation of these awnings? Like which one came first?
Cleveland Circle was in 16, Servente was in 18. Cleveland Circle, I think, changed the Acorn awnings when they did that. So when Acorn came down, then the Servente went up. You can see they're fairly similar. I think Servente just wanted a valence, so that's essentially the same size as the other awning and the color, which Acorns was not. It was completely out of line and had a lot of problems. So they fixed that, but then, yeah. Well, I take Bob's point that but I don't like just rolling over these things just because the space inside happens to be different.
And we can't predict the future,
Yeah.
but
So if we can't predict the future, what should we do, Bob?
hold it to the brick pier. Don't let it go
Okay.
past.
All right.
And I think that was our original design intent, which I think as
Yes.
a board, we should try to
Yep.
stick to no matter what people do after that.
All right. So Oscar, can I ask you what the size of the extension was going to be?
42 inches, so it's 3 feet 6 inches.
Right. So if we took that off, this 11-foot sign is now on a 15-foot sign, but we're going to shrink this thing proportionally. So I think that will still work. But I think the board's sense of this is that it should be restricted to that same area that the existing one is, and not lengthen out over that just because of the window, I think. So I'm gonna
I
say,
think their main idea to extend the awning is because they have what they call a nail bar right on that awning, where the awning would be, and they wanted to get a little bit of shade. They did notice that on the other side they do get some shade. And
It's a
in that end, they don't.
north-facing orientation. Yeah, there's no sun that's going to come in there. It's north-facing orientation, isn't it?
yes, that building faces north. You might get some, summer morning, end of day angle there, but it's by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, the sun is behind the building. So I don't think that's actually going to be an issue for them. All right, so the existing awning must be 14'6" long. Actually, I'm going to look at the last submission.
Smudge bar was 150 inches, it says, overall. 12 and a half feet.
Yeah, 12'6". So can you clarify that for us a little, Oscar? What are you also extending it closer to the Cleveland Circle one, or is it always? Isn't it currently there?
It is there, but I mean,
Okay.
I took my dimensions from the end of the awning, beginning of the pier to the other window, and I got 42 inches. So I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're just going to restrict it to the left, as you view the elevation, the left side of the pier would be the end of the awning. And then, so let me get these.
Now, would there be any way that you guys would consider, since Cleveland Circle travel is already there, it'd be just to keep consistency within the building. I just think it would look inconsistent to keep this awning small and the other two, super large.
Well, they have more storefront than you do.
I think Cleveland Circle and this Smudge Nail Bar are identical.
Are they? Yeah, you could run the awning all the way to the end of the building if you wanted.
That would be great.
I mean, I could try to talk to the landlord and the new owner, but I don't know if they would want to do that.
Well, you're free to do that and then come back and we can modify the decision. Okay, we're happy to do that if they can do that, but we don't want to, I think we need to start correcting this mistake. So we would prefer that it match the smudge size, which they're saying is 12'6". So you measured from the Cleveland Circle awning to the brick pier, or to the end of their storefront.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going to gauge it on the building because I'm not sure that the 18 feet is a correct gauge, because if I take 40, you say you're adding 42 inches, that would leave it at 14.6, yet we have historic record that says it was 12.6. So I'm just going to say from the end of the Cleveland Circle awning to the brick pier.
Okay.
Will be the condition that the glamorous lettering be reduced in height to 13 inches, and the length will change proportionally, and that nail bar reduced to 8 inches.
And I have one more comment.
I
Okay,
have one more comment.
all right,
I'd like to see the lettering centered up and down.
okay. I was going to say raise up from the bottom 4 inches, but we can, if we can center it. Okay, Bob?
Okay, I'll go with two more comments. One, I still think the letters in nail and bar should be spaced a hair more apart. And I think we should be very specific about which side of the brick pier we intend the awning to end at.
I will.
Thank you.
All right, so I would take a motion to approve this awning replacement with the conditions that on the signage, the glamorous lettering be 13 inches high and reduce the length proportionally, that the nail bar letter spacing be adjusted for slightly more spacing, and that they reduce to 8 inches in height. That and that the whole glamorous nail bar frame be centered on the awning. And then that the awning itself be restricted in length from the Cleveland Circle, the adjacent store awning, to the door side of the brick pier, where the end of, so the to the, as you face, look south to the left side of the pier.
So moved.
Seconded.
I'll come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Aye.
Chad Riley,
Aye.
Steve Tanner,
Aye.
and the chair approves. Right, so we get this back to you, Oscar, and you should talk with them about the problems that we had with it, and any our suggested alternative if they want to look at that. And if they do, then please come back.
All right. Perfect.
All right, thanks.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Good luck.
You-
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 0 Olin Way, Babson College. With quite the lovely batting cage. Wish I'd had that when I was a kid. So please, I don't know who wants to explain it to us, but I'll let you start.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Jonathan Charwick. I'm from Activitas. We're the landscape architects and civil engineers. We're also with Tom Scarlotta from BH+A. He's the architect on the project. And we're also with 3 people from Babson this evening, Patricia Lyons, Stephen Tolley, and Catherine Domain. So they can answer any specific questions from the school. But tonight, Tom and I will present the proposed project. May I have permission to share my screen with a short presentation to support the documents we submitted?
Absolutely, thanks.
Very good. All right, so the project area is the baseball field located at Babson College on their property, which is surrounded by Olin College. So as reference, off Great Plain Avenue, you enter into the Olin College driveway. You have the parking lot on the left side, and then the baseball field adjacent to the parking lot. And what I have circled in the back left corner of the baseball field, that's the proposed location for the indoor batting tunnel. Right now, there's 2 exterior batting tunnels, so we're essentially replacing those in kind in the same location, just with an overhead roof and wall panels that Tom will explain in one moment. For some additional reference, we have a few images from Great Plain Avenue looking toward the entrance to Olin College. So as you see, the views into the baseball field itself are very minimal, and it's very discreet, and you really can't see much of the baseball field or the facility from the street. And in addition, where the building is actually located, it's going to be very tough to even see that from the street until you enter into the facility itself. One thing to note, following this meeting, we will be filing with the planning board. We have to amend a special permit on the property as well. So that's one of the other permitting avenues we'll be undertaking over the next few weeks. At this time, I'll turn this over to Tom to talk more specifically about the building.
Thank you. The building is actually considered an open structure. We're using a pre-engineered building, modifying the exterior panels and leaving an open clear story at the top. The building houses two batting tunnels, which are roughly 14 by 14 square. In a ocean and we'll be sitting on a turf ground surface. We're also providing two toilet facilities accessible both inside the building as well as from the outside to support the fields next door. We also have a small storage room and a utility room to bring the power panels in. Next slide, Jonathan. What we're looking to do is clad the exterior of the building in a perforated panel, corrugated on the outside rather than using a conventional metal panel system. It'll be on girts, and these will be roughly 12 feet tall from the top of the grade beam up to the clear story opening. Again, and then next. And including with that, the graphics that you see are actually facing left field. And then the beaver logo would actually be above on both ends on the far end of the building, suspended, up in the clear area of that. The eave of the building is roughly 18 feet to the eave, and it's 27 feet to the ridge. The building plan is 80 by 45. Next. Again, this would be the field side of the building, or on the opposite, looking away from the baseball field, and that's the front entrance, which again, we have open gates to secure the facility, again, with the beaver logo suspended at the gable end. Next, I think that's it.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the 3D view right here. And then if we'd like to open up to questions, well, actually, let me ask Patricia, Stephen, or Catherine, anything you want to add before we turn over to the board?
Okay, we'll start out. I guess my procedural question, is this just a conceptual proposal for signage, or are you looking for a sign review at the same time? They're separate in the way our jurisdiction. What we have to do for you, because you're at site plan review, is write a memo to the planning board saying that we reviewed the building and any issues and comments that we have will go to them, and then they can enforce them or not enforce them in their ruling. So it's not quite just to get the building approved the way some of these other signs that you've seen tonight had gone. But this, and then the signage, any signage on the building is another application and secondary. So I guess I'm asking if you're looking at both right now, so we can discuss them, or should we just discuss the building and then we can talk about the signage when you come back for signage?
It'd be great if we could do both at the same time.
Okay. All right, so let's just start with the building. Chad, do you want to go ahead?
Pretty simple building, I guess. I know there's a lot of different pedestrian paths and things that work their way through the campus, and particularly down the athletic fields down here. So I guess one question is, does putting the structure here impact any of the pedestrian paths? And kind of on a related note, it doesn't look like there's any kind of stormwater management off the roof. It looks like it's just a straight edge, and the rain's going to come off. So if there are paths in the area, is that going to cause some problems with flooding or water? We're replacing, so I assume some impervious surface with pervious surface with an impervious roof. So what are the impacts of that on the surrounding area?
Sure. I'll start with the pathways. I made, let me go up to the first slide. We might have a better chance to take a look at. So there is a number of paths around the field itself. Really, the most of the access comes from either the parking lot or there's a small walkway that brings you to the parking lot east of the facility as well. So there'll be full access around to the back tunnel around the exterior of the building. And what we anticipate for the stormwater, we'll probably install a dry well of some sort. So all the stormwater off the roof will go into a gutter system, and we'll put it into a dry well to hopefully infiltrate back into the groundwater.
Yeah, that is a requirement in Needham. The building inspector will monitor that with you with town engineering department, but yeah, all water runoff now, it goes into recharge systems. I think as far as the paths go, there are some walking paths. I live near there, near Olin and Babson, so I walk through there frequently. Along those soccer fields to the right, there's an aqueduct trail, the Sudbury Aqueduct, that also extends around the wetland to north, just up above the rugby field and along that wetland. So it doesn't appear to me that that little access trail is being interfered with by this. Would that be correct?
Very minimally. So I actually have, so to give you a little more context. So per the site plan that I believe was attached in the package. So the Sudbury Aqueduct that you just referenced is just south of the proposed building location. We have a 25-foot setback off that property line to the south edge of the building, and then we have the northern property as well. So the walkways around the facility really end at the existing batting tunnels now. So we'll connect those walkways into the proposed building, and don't anticipate any additional circulation around the back edge or around the back of the outfield, as there isn't any right now.
There's there's a little bit of an existing trail up along, it kind of follows the contours along the top side of the building, along the 25-foot setback. So it does, I just wanted to check that whether that was changing or not. I mean, it's difficult to see, but if you go, there's some signage for the aqueduct trail. You basically walk along the edge of that wetland. So if that access is maintained, I don't see it as a big issue.
Yeah, we're the only disturbance we're really dealing with is really where the existing batting tunnel is. We're not trying to disturb anymore, really. Just replace the exterior tunnels with the building, generally in kind. Obviously, the dimensions are a little bit different, but the intent is not to adjust any of those other walkways or anything else that we don't have to.
Okay. Bob?
Thank you. Is this above the walls, the enclosing walls, is that open air?
Yes.
Okay. And what caps the wall? What's at the top of the wall? What kind of material and shape? Is there some kind of coping?
It would probably, it's in a pre-engineered building, it's usually just a channel section that's laid horizontally that'll catch the top of the corrugations.
Okay.
So it's basically a metal coping. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And will there be lights on the building and or inside the building?
There will be exit signs. We do have to provide exit signs and egress lighting. So there'd be small lights at either side of the doors, and there will be lighting inside.
I guess my concern about that is if this is in our purview, is that going, like, will they be hidden by the, the frames? Or are they going to be up high, or are they going to flood out?
They'd be, I mean, it certainly will glow outside of the building in terms of they're going to be directed down to the actual batting surfaces themselves.
Yeah.
And again, the idea, we went a little bit higher in terms of the height of the structure, not only to give us the clear story, but also just to get the lights and potentially probably may have a ceiling fan inside of it up above the cables that hold up the batting cages, the tunnels.
Okay.
So the lights would be up high.
Yeah, I guess a glow I'm not as concerned about, but and again, someone did mention at the start, I believe, that it's not super visible from the street, but lights certainly are visible from a greater distance. I think that's all I have for now, Mark. I may have something else after I listen.
All right, Steve?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I would question, I assume you'll have to put some lights around the doors, but those are just going to be pedestrian related?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, I think he's right. It will be a bit of a lantern when you look at it, but I think Bob's concern of light casting out of there all over is probably minimal if there's any. And given the location isn't really going to impact anybody, it'll just be visible from other areas where that's a pretty dark area now at night. There may be, that may change a little bit, but Olin also inhabits several buildings along Great Plain Ave, and sometimes those are on as well. So I don't see a problem there. Did you consider, the one thing you do, you are impacting sort of Olin Way as it goes up to their parking lot and main building entrances and entrance to their campus, where right now there is basically nothing visible. Have you talked with them about whether they'd like any screening or anything on the end facing Olin Way?
I'd like to ask maybe Steve or Patricia if there's been any conversations with Olin.
We had some preliminary conversations with Olin about the project. But like I said, they were preliminary. I think at this point, we'll probably start to share these documents with them and get their input as well.
Okay. All right. Again, the planning board will probably discuss that more detail with you. I'm not sure it requires any. It's not. It's an athletic field. It's open space, but I know that the upper fields at Babson are actually really quite maintained and nicely organized and landscaped and built out. So that might be something Olin would like there. But they've also got their LA growing slowly but surely of all those trees they planted when they built that campus. So yeah, I'll just note that we suggest you talk with them and see about screening. I'm not sure we're at the point where we think it's necessary. Does anybody on the board feel like that would be something we'd like to require? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. It's so far back. It's sort of into their property.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay. Regarding the signage, you are in an institutional zone. So I did check that today to make sure. So you are allowed a sign of 32 square feet, but this is significantly larger than that. And I realize it faces left field, but I think if you went back to those images you showed us as you enter Olin Way, Olin College's signage is simply metal letters mounted on that little stone wall that you saw with a planting bed in front of it. And to drive by that, and then first of all, you see the scoreboard, which has Babson Beavers on it. And then as you round the drive, you see Babson Beavers in 3-foot high letters going across the building. It just seems a little in your face. I'm not sure it's necessary. I understand the sports announcements and home field and you're here, this is our place. But my inclination is to look at the beaver images as a sort of a graphic, but that the lettering be organized more in keeping with the design bylaw. But I will take comments from the other members. Steve?
I'm trying to find out how big those letters are. They 3 feet high?
Yes.
They're 3 feet tall.
And
Well, I would suggest that they be made out of a solid material, like a 1/2-inch aluminum plate with a baseball field, a lot of baseballs flying around. I don't think you want another material that will get broken. The letters will be broken, and then no matter what you do, it will look awful having broken letters. So that's one suggestion, is the type of material they use. And then I do agree also that the 3-foot high is a bit much, and they may think like half of that size.
okay, Chad?
The line drawings call out the letters and the logo as stainless steel plate.
Right.
And, but obviously this rendering is showing them as green and white. And so I'm guessing that they're not really envisioned as stainless steel, which at that size that they're presented would be a small fortune. So I think, one is we want to clarify what is the intent. Is it, something colored like these, or was it really stainless steel? And then I would agree that, the logo being a little larger is one thing as a graphic element, but the text, would be appropriate at a much smaller scale.
Okay, Bob?
I think smaller would be acceptable. I'm just trying to look at the site. It's obviously facing the baseball field, the lettering, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get back to the site plan. Or if you could pull it up, please, or the area, the very first slide of your show that shows the aerial photo of the fields.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, so for context, the side of the building that has Babson Beavers, or Babson College with the beaver would be here, and then the front that had the beaver logo would be that side.
And can you
Yeah.
point out the scoreboard location for us?
Sure, the scoreboard's right under the word review.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I guess, what's the purpose of the sign? It's, I guess, yeah, I'll just stop with there, period. What's the purpose of the sign? Question mark.
I think just additional branding for the batting tunnel and for the baseball facility as a whole.
Who's the intended audience? Because I guess if it's that big, you'll see it from far away, but primarily it looks like the left fielder will have the closest view. I think I guess I'm getting to the point where I guess no commenting on branding, but smaller would still be. I think smaller could work. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and clearly, I would expect that Olin College doesn't do this, but we're going to require it to be back down to the 32 square foot limit. I think if you'd really like to do this, you see this all the time in recreational places. You can come in and ask for a special permit, and we're happy to review that with you. And at that point, you will have been able to talk to Olin about what their issues might be with something like that. Again, sort of in my head, I drive by a small Olin sign and I see a big Babson Beaver, and it's fine and it's related to athletics, and I'm a big fan of that. But I think given the bylaw that we have to our initial review will need to require you to be 32 square feet. And I'm willing to look at the beaver. There's not really any size on it on the wall version, but I would suggest that we could raise that up and then run Babson Beavers underneath it as a way to approve the signage for you. The question is, are they going to be stainless steel, or are they going to be stainless steel painted green?
It'd be some sort of an aluminum panel painted.
Okay.
And actually the logo is roughly, the logo, the circle itself is roughly 7.5 feet.
And that's a 12-foot wall, I believe.
Yep.
A lot of times when we have applicants who are looking to do something outside the bylaws, they'll develop some photo montages and things that help to visualize the size of the letters. So something from the parking lot or over, around the first base side that was a combination of, the rendering inserted with, Photoshop of the actual surroundings behind, and showed us what the letters look like in context that, the size we're asking. And if there's something you want to propose that was bigger, showing the impact of those, that might be helpful in evaluating, but without that kind of a visual aid. And I'm not saying just if we had the visual aid, we'll automatically default to a bigger sign, but sometimes it can be helpful in visualizing something like that in the overall actual context.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I think at a 7-foot circle around that beaver logo over what's likely to be, 14 to 16 inch high letters might be a little overwhelming. So I see if the board agrees that we should actually do some reduction on that beaver. We can either pick a size or let them do a proportional size, but I'm thinking it needs to be like 4.5 or 5 feet diameter over a 32 square foot sign that where the letters are at maximum 16 inches high. Any,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that sounds good, Mark.
okay. All right, so we will write a memo to the planning board regarding the structure. I think it's a nice building. I like the use of the different materials than you typically see. And I think it'll be a nice facility for them. And I think it's a nice addition. I would take a motion to approve the sign with the conditions. Well, do you want them to just bring back the sign redone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than trying to approve it? The building isn't
Yeah.
even started yet, so I think we've given you some feedback on the sign, so I think you want to come back to us and we can look at it again when I assume this is a year away from being useful, this building. So,
Yep, that'd be great.
all right, so we will write a memo to the planning board for you so that when you go in to amend your special permit, they have some input from us. And but overall, it's a nice facility. Be a nice addition. So good luck, and we'll see you when you come back for the adjusted sign.
Thanks,
Great.
everyone. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, next item on the agenda,
Oh. I guess we have one more.
approval of the minutes of January 10th. Any questions or comments on the minutes of January 10th?
No, only that they're expertly drafted and written again. I want that in the record every time. I want that in the record every time, Rana.
And Elisa helps edit, so that's good.
Well, the teamwork. Thank you, Lisa, too. Yep.
All
You
right.
make us look good.
So a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th.
So moved.
I
Someone
wasn't
second.
here. I can't second him.
Oh, I'll second them with a comment that I wish it was June.
Yeah, okay. And, all right, we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Yes.
Chad Riley,
Yes.
and the chair approves. So motion to adjourn.
Sure.
So
Why
moved.
not?
One thing about those stainless steel letters,
Yeah,
if they're mounted on this perforated building, those stainless steel letters are typically hollow. And with these, they would probably have straps and be through bolted to the other side. But in those holes, you're gonna create nests for bees. The whole letters are gonna fill up with bees.
yeah. I think they're gonna want to be plate when they come back. Plates on studs. And then,
So
Right,
it's more. So you're saying, Steve, it's more like the Babson Beavers?
that's exactly, you've got it.
Sorry, couldn't resist. And I was going to ask, what are they going to do about pigeons? Because that's where all the pigeons are
Oh,
going to hang out
yeah.
in that building.
I know you haven't motioned to adjourn, but I need to leave. I can't
Okay.
stay after that terrible joke. I can't.
I blame myself.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
all right, someone want to second the motion, please?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Bob seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, and we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Yes.
Chad Riley.
Yes.
Steve Tanner.
But wasn't there.
No, this is to adjourn,
Oh, okay.
You can stay if you want,
adjourn.
Steve.
I'm happy to adjourn.
and then the chair approves. So we are adjourned. Thank you.
When's our next meeting?
The 28th, and we have a hearing.
Oh, boy.
Okay,
Which project?
That is the Needham Channel at 257 Chestnut Street. They are applying for not only a wall sign, but they want a freestanding sign in a bed.
Yeah, we've been doing in that area of Chestnut Street. There are several buildings, because the buildings are set back, we have allowed a pylon sign at the street. So
Okay.
They
They
took
did-
out all the landscaping, it appears. And I asked them, are you planning to put something in? And they hadn't figured it out yet,
yeah,
so.
probably gravel.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah,
next
well,
time I
that's
direct-
their planning board approval is at jeopardy if they change the planting bed too much. So
There's
Um,
nothing there right now.
okay.
Ladies, what do you?
We are pursuing, I did interview a couple of people for Nelson's position. One of them backed out afterwards. So I'm thinking I'm gonna let someone else interview them in the future. So